So in this video, I want to discuss using competition footage as a way to develop your technique. This is something that you often hear about, but I've never really seen anybody break down how they go about doing it. So I wanted to create a video all about that and show you something that I'm going to be looking at working on, how I've kind of gone about kind of analyzing the videos, and some advice of how you can do the same. So the first thing I want to talk about before we jump into any like the match analysis stuff is like choosing a topic. For me, there's a couple of things that I do. Firstly, I'm always looking at my jiu-jitsu, looking at my game as a whole, and I'm kind of rating areas on like my effectiveness in them. So for example, how good am I at escaping mount or the back, or like what is my guard like? Whatever area it is, I'm just thinking about where my weaknesses are, and I'm looking at ways that I can improve on those and just generally get better. Now that will come through things like rolling is a good way that I'll start to see holes in my game or areas that I might need to work. Competition's obviously another one. The other way that I start to decide on what techniques to use comes down to just watching matches. Like I'll watch a match and I'll see something that interests me and then I'll dive into it. Okay, so that's basically how I go about choosing a topic, because to me one of the most important things is that you kind of always have something you're working on. It keeps me interested in jiu-jitsu and it keeps my game fresh and keeps my game evolving. So when I go about like kind of deciding on a technique that I want to use, or something that I want to deep dive into, the first thing I do is I just try to, well, number one, I've got to know someone who's kind of pretty good at that technique. Okay, so I'll often go on YouTube and I'll type in, for example, like I'm going to be working on like doing a deep dive on the variation of the footlock that Isaac Doederlein and kind of Mikey Musumeci use. They use like the butterfly ashi, super effective. They've done it some against high level competition. So I want to deep dive into that. I've been playing around with the butterfly ashi position quite a lot, and I feel like I'm quite effective at like sweeping and utilizing it and controlling it, but the finishing mechanics of the footlock is an area that I need to work. Okay, so the first thing, like I know that these guys are good at it, from my experience, then I just go over to YouTube and I start searching for them. So specifically Isaac is one that I'm looking at. So I went over, just typed into YouTube, Isaac Doederlein footlock. Okay, and then you start to watch some of their matches. And now I'm really interested in a couple of different areas. The first thing that I want to do is I want to look for like the commonalities in the position. So everything is going to be a little bit different. You can't really dictate how a competition happens, like what's going to happen like in the match, so to speak. So I'm looking for kind of commonalities they use across the board. And I'm also then looking at what happens kind of before the technique, what happens during the technique, and then what happens after if that person kind of counters it. So I'm trying to find as much data as I can so that I can kind of wade my way through it and kind of pick out the really crucial points. And then from there, I'll go throw them in my training. So I'm going to show you a couple of matches of Isaac's, ones that I've watched, and there's a couple of things that I noticed as I was watching his matches. So the first one was the way that he places the foot. Okay, so I saw, often in his matches, it more goes into like, it's almost like in an Aoki lock position, so the foot is across, like on top of the ribs. Okay, now he doesn't finish it like an Aoki lock, because I think that's illegal under IBJJF rules, but it's the way that he applies pressure comes from there. And you will notice that he gets like a lot of bite on the toes when he does this. Okay. The next thing that I noticed as well that he did is he used his butterfly hook leg, or like kind of the inside X hook, as a way to like extend control distance. And then the final thing that he did, he used the other leg as a way to keep his partner's hands down on the ground. Now normally when I'm playing like butterfly ashi, I have one leg hooked up on the inside, another one stepping on them. He doesn't do that. He uses it more underneath the armpit. And that's something that I wanted to look at and see if he did it, against everybody, and what would happen if they like grabbed hold of his foot. So let's dive into the matches. These matches are all really, really short, but the first one I want to show you is this one right here. So this is from 2020. Both these matches from 2020 European Championships. I was actually there at this competition thinking about it. A guy called Diego Henrique, he's in the white, and then Isaac Doederlein is in the black. So we can run through the entire match. So this is, again, one of the first things that I do is I watch the entire sequence. I don't try to break it down or anything first. I just watch through the sequence. So we can probably jump into it pretty quick. We're going to find the position. So yeah, this is kind of where it happens. And then there's going to be this moment where he turns and gets the tap. So the entire match is like Super, super short, very, very small amount of match that's happening. Okay, so the bit that I really want to concern with is actually two parts. So this is kind of, we have the before unit. How does Isaac get into this technique? Okay, and it's coming off like a double pull. So I'm going to go back just a little bit further. I'm not sure if he ever comes up on top from the beginning. Let's watch it back again. So they're doing some jockeying. See, Isaac just slides into position. Diego falls backwards. And then Isaac uses this 2-on-1 grip. And then he's already into the butterfly ashi at this point. Okay, like you can see it. It's actually, the nice thing about using this butterfly ashi is he's almost like giving up the De La Riva hook side. Like this is the side that a lot of people will go to start berimbolo, and by going on like inside and not fighting for the De La Riva hook, it gives him the space to be able to do that. So you can see his legs kind of already pummeled underneath, and then when his partner stands up to try and pass, he's already in the position. Okay, so again, this before unit's important. He's pulling himself in, maintains the grip, and then just wraps it up. He's not even trying to get to like a deep footlock position at this point, but he has his legs in this, it's almost like an X guard, right? It's like a modified X guard variation. And then I'm not sure how his partner gets the leg out. So it's hard to see from this line, but what we're looking for is Isaac's right leg. Okay, that's the one that he throws across the body. So I think he uses it to kind of off balance his partner a little bit and get his weight forwards, and then just slots it into place. And now immediately he's here. The other thing that he's done is controlled this far leg, or attempting to control that far leg. Now, when his partner dropped, Isaac kind of rushed. So he uses this kind of shin reinforcement position with his hand over here. You see it just for a split second. Let me see if I can time it properly. So his partner drops to the leg, and immediately Isaac's trying to apply the footlock pressure. Now, as I talked about, I'd noticed that something, he'd been using this specific foot placement to really finish it, and he doesn't have it here. So immediately he kind of goes back off it, and he's back into this position. And again, that's that other foot position I'm talking about. It's almost like he's giving up his own footlock position, but he's using it as a way to knock his partner off balance. You can see it as Diego comes back up on top here. You've got this footlock. He kind of throws his weight forwards and puts the weight back in the hands. I think that's going to then allow him to set up this grip over here on the inside of the leg. Okay, and you can see that he's got this collar grip as well. That's pretty common in jiu-jitsu. There's nothing special about it. Now, at that point, Diego made the mistake. What Diego tried to do is, no, it's a little bit not quite in the right space. You can see Diego's here, right? Well, if you watch this leg, he's going to try to pull it up out of the footlock position. There. See, his heel has just touched onto Isaac's chest. This is actually the position that Isaac won. It might have been, I'm not sure if Isaac was actually baiting it, so whether he was trying to give enough space so that Diego felt like he'd pull it out, and then as he locks into it, he pulls it through. We'll have a look and see if we can see that other leg. And now Isaac just tries to apply the finish, and Diego decides to roll towards the inside. So let's see if we can, we're now looking for the left leg to see if he's pushing away in it. No, we can't see it. But then Diego, the reason that they go belly down is actually Diego's reaction. So this is the setup here. Okay, and then if you watch, Isaac goes footlock and Diego tries to fall belly down and loses position. Okay, so now, based on that, we have some data that we can start working, right? Like I said before, I'd noticed that Isaac often uses that foot position. This was more a reactive way of getting it. I also, like I talked about, we've got that foot hooking underneath the armpit. And then we have controlling that far leg. And we have using our legs as a way to create off-balancing. So he's using the hook underneath the armpit to knock forwards. He's using the inside butterfly hook to control distance. Let's see if he does that again in the next match. So this is the second match that we're going to look at, which is, I'm trying to remember this guy's, oh yeah, it's Richard Nogueira. Okay, same year, 2020, probably happened afterwards, because Europeans is the first one in the tournament. Again, it's a pretty short match. We'll go into, I think this is about where it starts to get set up here. There might be an initial runaway. No, we're already into position now. So there's a couple of cool things. Initially, yeah. So Isaac tries to go K-guard and enter and gets pushed back. Now this is an interesting position because right now Isaac doesn't have any grips. Okay, he has no grips. So for Rishad is actually a pretty good position. Like, he can move left, he can move right, he can step forwards, he can try and go under, he can try and go around. Like, it's not a bad tactic to just completely disengage from a position that's not favorable to you, because now you're essentially in neutral. In fact, you're almost in like the top player is almost in a better position because, you know, he's free to move and Isaac kind of has to play guard but without any grips. So he dives in. This is a mistake, Rishad. He ends up in like an omoplata. Not necessarily a great omoplata because he's almost pulling out, and then Isaac drops into this kind of De La Riva position. That allows him to tie up the position, and then Rishad doesn't really react when he's got this lapel. He's got the near side lapel, and almost drags Isaac into the position. Okay, same situation. So if we break it down, if we stop right here, we'll come back to it in a second. But we've got inside butterfly hook. Again, this is kind of confirming what we were talking about earlier, using this hook behind and this pant leg. Okay, now you can see here that Isaac's trying to press that leg away, and as he's doing it, you might notice that this foot changes position a little bit. Okay, he's also reinforcing this grip. So he's using this kind of weight, kind of leaning forwards, keep Rishad's hands on the ground and make it challenging, and then immediately he goes up into it and gets the submission. So again, like very, very short match, but that's what we need to see, right? We want to see how he's using this position. So the first thing is, let's like go all the way back, because this is quite an interesting setup that he does. Like, he's going omoplata, and he's dropping into a De La Riva from here. So he's wrapped up the leg. So if we go omoplata, boom, and he's intentionally switched to this footlock grip. Okay, like, this isn't a great way to try and finish an omoplata. Like, he knows that his partner's going to try and lift him up out of it, drops back to it, and then drops into De La Riva. So now his partner can't move very effectively, and then he goes to this lapel grip. Okay, the threat of the lapel means that, you know, his partner Rishad is going to keep his chest back, because if he lets him get too close, he can get the trand off of the grip. You see, he doesn't want to have that happen. So now Rishad actually pulls this up, and what Isaac's going to do is then drop his knee inside, and he's into that butterfly ashi, and at the same time he gets that bite. So we're back into that same position with the inside butterfly hook and the hook under the armpit, and then Isaac kind of jumps and climbs. So I want to look at that again, because he brings his knee towards the outside. I think he's trying to get a higher bite on the knee. So here, yeah, he's lifting his hips up, and then he lifts it up and kind of slightly readjusts to drop down to the ground. Okay, and I'm not sure if he's trying to knock him off balance at that point. That's like a position that I would need to play around with and get like the feeling for it. Okay, but we're into this position, and he's already got that hand off of the leg. So when did he get the hand off of the leg? Here he's got lapel, lifts, drops, catches the ankle. Initially not a very good grip. Okay, it just looks like he's on the outside. Okay, and now, yeah, you can see that I know he's gonna make this grip adjustment here. Interesting point here, like, this is the counter to this, right? Rishad's kind of using a side of the foot in under the armpit, like almost like he's doing a round kick into the leg. That's going to prevent Isaac getting to his favorite position, which is that foot, that heel in the body. Okay, you see Isaac just kind of slowly inching that grip in a bit tighter and using that grip here. And now you can see that he's going to keep stepping with this leg, and there's the catch. So if we go back just a touch, if you watch this foot, he steps, and you see the foot move, steps, moves, and then this is a really interesting movement that he makes as well. He drops the pressure, the tension out of this leg back into this butterfly hook. So he almost slides in underneath and applies tons more pressure. And then I think the finish just happens from him going straight up towards the ceiling, and his partner doesn't roll out of it, like Isaac's using that hand on the leg again. So the movement that's really interesting, if we watch it through, I'll try and point it out. He's going to step it. I'll get it when he gets the foot onto the ribs. Okay, so it's about now, right? Watch this leg. So here, this leg is controlling the distance. This one's keeping Rishad forwards. This one is framing and kind of pushing him away. If you watch what's going to happen, he's going to pull this leg back and shoot his hips in underneath, like pulling himself under the footlock to create that tension and get to the position where he can really hyperextend it out there. And now he's framing against this leg, still has the hand on the collar. And this is the reason it's not an Aoki lock. You can see this vertical up towards the ceiling. Like, this is a straight foot lock. It's just from kind of an Aoki position, and then gets the submission. If we play it through one more time, so you can see that kind of entry that he does. So this is going to be the exchanging a little bit, exchanging, and then heel, and then boom, drives in, takes all that tension off, and creates a super tight bite. So I would look like, this is kind of my thought process as I'm going through these videos because I want to practice this footlock, right? I would do the same. I'd look for a few more instances and try and find matches where people maybe defended it as well. Like we haven't got anything really that's happened after Isaac set up the position but hasn't been able to finish it. So I'd look for a match after that as well, and see if I can find one. Probably a longer match would be an example, but I wanted to keep these short because this is probably going to be a long video anyway. From there, once I've got a good amount of data, then I need to go and practice it. First thing I'm going to do is, like, I'm just going to be in this footlock position, okay? I'm going to try and figure out how to apply the pressure. So I know I need the leg configuration with the inside butterfly hook, plus that kind of hook in the armpit. And then I want to try to like fold myself in the same way Isaac does it. And I might just drill that and practice that a couple of times to get the feeling. Then the next thing I'm going to do is start to put it into sparring. Okay, so I'm going to like enter into this butterfly ashi and I'm going to try and get this footlock to finish. And as I get more data and more information, then I'll come and get more answers. Like if necessary, like I said, I'll come back and find out what Isaac's doing in specific situations if I can find them. Like I know he has an instructional all about this as well, so I might end up purchasing the instructional. But the goal is to get a devastating footlock like Isaac, and I'm going to do that by watching him, learning from him, and then trying to implement it in my game as quick as possible until I get really comfortable. That might take me a week, it might take me a month, it might take me 3 months, but I'll keep working with this until I have a big enough like level of skill that I can kind of start applying it on most people and in most situations as well. There's no reason this shouldn't work in the no-gis as well as the gis. So hopefully that all made sense. Hopefully you kind of found that interesting and useful. If you've got any questions, let me know.